Today, we're going to confront and break this myth that says, I am not enough. We're going to look at several of the familiar Christmas stories surrounding the birth of Jesus, not just as nostalgic moments, but as intentional examples of how God invites people into relationship and purpose. We're going to see just how inclusive God's invitation really is, and how low the barrier to entry has always been for those who are willing to respond. We're going to also unpack the role of the Holy Spirit, not as a reward for spiritual maturity, but as the very one who finishes the work when we're willing to take that first step. The heart of this message is simple but necessary. It is that you are allowed to step into a real relationship with God and even into your calling exactly as you are. Not because you are finished, not because you are perfect, but because you are not meant to go on this journey alone. But you're able to start it right where you're at. And it's important for us to have this kind of conversation because many people spend their lives standing at that door. We're standing at the door and we assume that we need to fix things first. That we need to fix certain habits, that we need to rearrange parts of our lives. We need to quit certain things before we could start. We need to reach this invisible spiritual threshold before we can ever consider moving forward or towards God at all, towards any purposes that He has for us. The problem with that way of thinking is that there will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a version of yourself that suddenly feels qualified enough to begin. The irony is that the peace, the clarity, the transformation that we're waiting for, that we're waiting to feel, is on the other side of spirituality, that it only comes after we take that first step towards God. Not before it, but after we take that step of faith. And today, my hope is that we recognize the door has never been locked, that this invitation has never been exclusive to the super saints, and that the journey was never meant to be walked by your own strength in the first place.